More than 1 in every 5 children in Illinois will be living in poverty just 2 years from now. Children are the hidden casualties and voiceless victims of these difficult economic times.
Last week, the advocacy group Voices for Illinois Children released its 2010 Kids Count report. The report, which details the recession's effects on children and families, was presented in front of more than 100 human service advocates, policymakers, and organization leaders on Friday.
This economic crisis is really causing long-term harmful effects to children and families. And we know that if we don't take action, we will continue to compound the problems for struggling families, and that means an entire future generation could struggle for their lifetime.
About 530,000 Illinois children live in poverty, the annual report says, and that number is expected to increase in the coming years. In 2008, the child poverty rate hit 17% and is likely to climb to 22% by 2012.
I think it's a bit of a wake-up call, to people throughout the state, and particularly to policy leaders who probably are not necessarily aware of exactly what the condition is for particularly children within the state of Illinois. So I think part of it is to give a clear sort of indication of exactly what the status of the situation is, where it's headed, and sort of why we need to address it.
Michelle Sattler, Secretary for the Illinois Department of Human Services, said information on Governor Pat Quinn's March 10th budget message can be found on the website budget.illinois.gov. Sattler said documents on the site state the governor will propose additional state cuts in the amount of $2 billion. With these cuts, the state will still face an $11 billion deficit.
There are solutions, and we all have to work together on the solutions. And as we talk with our legislators, the governor has asked all of his agency directors to ask you to please present all 4 pillars of the solution.
A crisis like this calls for 2 things. It calls for honest and forthright leadership that tackles the crisis and gets the job done, and instead of temporizing and waiting and not dealing with it. And the second thing it calls for is a balanced approach. We've already done cutting. We've already done borrowing. We're waiting for help from the federal government. What the balance needs is new revenue so that we can work our way through this crisis without making disastrous cuts and without arresting the good progress we've made for children.
Riggs says her organization is acutely aware of the state's budget crisis, but she hopes the General Assembly will not make further cuts to the programs of the Voices for Illinois Children. This is Wendy Wolfow reporting for Chicago Talks.